And that stands for Ellen, Sila, Lumen, or Mentielvo.
So there is a connection to Latin with the word lumen right there. If this was Latin, however, meaning lumen, the way he read it, once again, it's Elvish. He could do whatever he wants. In fact, I appreciate this. I love it very much. But just to give you a little bit of an interesting fun fact, if you pronounce it like he did, lumen, you're basically pronouncing it in ecclesiastical pronunciation. It is very likely, by the way it has been reconstructed, that the way ancient Romans would have pronounced this word would have been with a fully nasalized N at the end. Lumen, lumen, instead of lumen, if you can tell the difference. And there are ways as to justify this. I've got a couple of dedicated videos. I might add links in the description if you're interested.
It's a rather beautiful language, I think. I wouldn't mind other people knowing it and enjoying it, but I didn't really want to, like some people who've been equally inventive in language have done, sort of make cults and have people all speaking it together. No, I don't desire to go and have afternoons talking Elvish to chaps. One thing, because Elvish is too complicated. I've never finished making it.
Well, this was fascinating. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what I believe is happening. I'm going to open a page so we can have a look at what we are discussing, because science does have some things to say. So, as we read here, ERS is not in itself a disorder, but there is a speech disorder called cluttering that includes fast talking. In addition to speaking quickly, clutteredness crowds their sentences with fillers. Like, man, I know a few people that do that a lot. Insert pauses where they don't belong and use abnormal intonation. I'm not sure if we could identify any abnormal intonation there, maybe a couple of times, but not necessarily. Both ERS and cluttering can be hard to follow, but not for the same reason. This is fascinating here. A slowed down recording of ERS would basically sound like ordinary speech, whereas the accelerated cluttering would still contain a multiple of what experts call disfluencies. And I think it's both. So as we were reading here, researchers only recently began exploring the basis of what's sometimes called exceptionally rapid speech, or ERS for short. According to experts, I could be vocally talented, or I might have a well-managed speech disorder. Klaas Bakker, a communication science and disorders researcher at Missouri State University, said that he and colleagues took an interest in ERS a few years ago when they noticed that some people referred to them for cluttering were actually just exceedingly fast talkers. Bakker's team coined ERS to replace the technical term for rapid speech, I'm glad they did, Tachylalia. Tachylalia. Am I mispronouncing it? Tachylalia? Which they felt sounded too much like a disorder. Well, yeah. After all, it wasn't clear to them if ERS and cluttering fell on the same speech disorder spectrum, probably not, or if they were entirely unrelated behaviors. In other words, are fast talkers just reformed clutterers who deserve a gold star for tidying up their sentences? No, I wouldn't say so. I think they're two different problems that can overlap, and it absolutely happens. But in general, I would say they are not equal and the same. People do speak very fast, and I myself am a little bit of a fast talker, and I remember that when I was in Japan, because I do speak Japanese fluently, and when I was in Japan, people would call me that, like they have a word for it, hayaguchi, which means like fast mouth, and they often refer to me as that. And I think, however, for me, it was a professional hazard, if you will, meaning that it's something I picked up because of my previous job as a full-time interpreter and translator. And sometimes I used to do these simultaneous translations between English, Italian, and Japanese, the three languages that I know the best. And of course, Italian being my main language, my native language. And so one thing that I would do is that I would be very fast, because of course it's not like you have all the time in the world to render a translation in the most accurate way possible, but in the shortest amount of time, particularly if it's a business meeting and the like. In general, I would say in a professional environment, you have to be precise and quick. So accuracy, speed, precision. It was a good job, but it was very, goodness gracious, I wouldn't want to do it again. After that, I went into teaching for 10 years, and honestly, I think teaching is much better now. Here I am on YouTube. What I did want to say, though, is that I have developed the sort of habit of speaking fast, but I've also tried to manage it a little bit and sometimes I do speak fast, but I try not to speak exceedingly fast, particularly when it could in a way undermine my ability to be understood. And at the end of the day, languages are all about communication, successful, in fact, communication when possible. Now, in his case, however, this is something that I don't think has ever been addressed in his entire life. Also, do remember that to be able to write the likes of The Lord of the Rings, I imagine he must have spent a monumental amount of time indoors by himself. And so if you don't engage with people constantly, and you have large amounts of time or large spans of time, this is why this kind of connects to the psychological realm a little bit as well. If you don't have a lot of opportunity to speak with people, communicate with people, connect with them, then a tether might be broken. And so what that happens linguistically is that you will speak, but your speech is not the most refined way to communicate. It is instead the fastest way to express your thoughts. And as I say, as someone like him, which I believe had an incredible mind when it comes to his ability for creativeness, his mind is constantly creating. In other words, his mouth is not at the same level as his mind. I'm just going to put it this way. It is a absolutely intriguing situation. Let me listen one more time to just a little repeat of this part after he reads.
Words or not. But those are the key spring of the laws of the ring. People do not fully understand the difference between an allegory and an application. You can go to a
I love the way he said that, application.
Shakespeare play and you can apply it to things in your mind if you like, but they're not allegories. At least most of them are not. There's more allegorical elements, for instance, in the...
Can you see how speed has priority over precision and full enunciation of words, to the point that some of the words are truncated and completely cut? I don't think he realizes that, though. In his mind, he has pronounced them. Or at least, he has, I would say, covered the stem of the word, which is enough to convey a meaning. And so he's just already moved into the next word, because what's the point of continuing to pronounce a word that isn't necessarily long if the meaning has already been conveyed? All of this is happening at the subconscious level, of course. It's not like this is a decision, willful decision. It's not. But it's pretty much what's happening.
The tempest in the most, but certainly, I mean, many people apply to...
The way he laughed there, the way he smiled, it reminds me of a wizard, doesn't it?
A nuclear, the ring, particularly the nuclear bomb, don't they? I think that was in my mind, the whole thing is only an allegory of it. Well, it isn't. I first began seriously to invent languages.
I actually like that he specified that, now that we go a little bit outside of the realm of the topic that we were addressing, but I do appreciate that he specified that. Like, people are saying that it's an allegory, the ring, the one ring is an allegory for the atom bomb, and he's like, no, it's not. And I can already imagine all these people, because I mean, it does happen a lot, and usually it annoys me when they build all of these unnecessary elucubrations over a topic, and then they say in this passage the author is trying to express this connection to this substrata of the, and they go into all of these things, and then at the end the author is like, no, it's not. It's just a magical ring. I mean, not just a magical ring. I'm not trying to belittle the incredible narrative device that the ring was within the novel, but it's not the freaking nuclear bomb. It's not. So when people add that, it's like, if you want to see it, and you're like, for me, the ring could be a representation, a symbolic, if you will, of the destructive power of 20th century weapons of mass destruction and the way they were utilized by certain regimes, etc. That's fine. But it's when they attach it to the author that it annoys me, also because in this case he was still alive and could retaliate and provide clarification. But unfortunately, when they're dead, I wonder how many people have put stuff into Shakespeare that it was like, no, man, that's just a ghost. Who knows? But anyways, this is today's video analysis. If you liked it, let me know, because I could do more. And in fact, if there are people that you would like me to kind of analyze their speech patterns, even at a greater level or at a deeper level with more studies and a little more bibliography attached to it, could produce a little bit of a longer video, do let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching and joining Metatron's Academy. Goodbye.